Over 1000 horsepower in one video, the premium sedans comparison test, Audi S4 versus BMW M340i versus Mercedes C43. This is Thomas with Autogefuehl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the Audi single frame grille, black styling. You can also get black Audi rings and this Quattro citation from the first Quattro model actually. Here then the matrix LED lamps with a beautiful turning indicator also in the cascading style. The BMW styling actually, I think styling wise, it just looks most screaming out in a way. Here especially with the M Sport Package Pro where you can also get this dark frame around the double kidney. The standard M340i would also come with like grey accentuations, and here the C43 vertical fins in the special AMG front grille, which also is wider in the lower part than in the top part. This color here is called Hyacinth Red. Yeah, it's a little bit strange because in the configurator you only find the Patagonia, but you can also go for custom orders. And here the lamps, also with a very interesting daytime running light. The turning indicator not as spectacular right here. This then also the digital light, also with adaptive high beam function and so on. Which one do you find best from the front styling? Tell me in the comments. With 4.71 m or 185 inches, the BMW is, so to speak, the smallest, but it's actually not a huge difference to the other size figures for the Mercedes and the Audi. As for the rear, super interesting how they differ right here. They all employ this separate contrasting spoiler right here. The Audi once again with the most conservative look and also, let's say, not screaming out too much. The BMW I think most consistent. Oh, another guest for today. Here I think very beautiful with the three-dimensional tail lamps. And the Mercedes is the most screaming out one, but they all employ fake exhaust. Worst with the Audi, of course, than in the EU diesel trim. It is better than in the petrol trim with the Audi, of course, where you have a real exhaust. And here with the BMW, something in between, because you have this outer tip. And with the Mercedes, these are not the real pipes. The real one is also on the inside. BMW seating position, a lot of headroom left, definitely also for tall people. Steering wheel here also with a manual control, also very smooth indeed. The seats so far so good. I think for tall people the ergonomics could be a little bit better. I think that Volvo still does it best as for the seat ergonomics, but I also feel that the Audi seat is especially a little bit more comfortable than this one here. This one here, the animal skin spec. However, BMW is best in offering perforated sensor tech, the animal-free material in all markets. Since the 3 Series facelift, BMW presents us a mix of analog and digital. This new curved screen, 2 screens then in one unit, but then you still have a manual volume knob, and also here in the lower part, this control knob right there, that you can also control the infotainment system while driving. I really appreciate to have that. The infotainment system itself is actually quite quick indeed. Also has a useful car internal GPS, and the Apple CarPlay integration is really large. Definitely you see here this horizontal focus, whereas Mercedes goes with the vertical focus. Instruments come alive like this, and then you can also switch here to different layouts. This is a more, let's say, modern digital approach, whereas Audi, for example, also has an analog digital look. Do you know what I mean? So which one would you prefer? Mercedes door closing sound, also very good. You see a lot of high gloss piano lacquer is being used, so it looks quite cool. But when you then look in detail, the other ones look more elaborated. This is the AMG performance seat. Stiffer, slimmer, and also more bolstering. You can also get the normal sport seat, which would be standard. In Germany we can also get dynamic microfiber on the inside, not possible in the UK and not certain yet in the US. Seating is not too uncomfortable, although this is quite stiff from the bolstering, more comfort than in a normal comfort seat. But here also I think that the seating comfort is best with the Audi. Steering is actually quite cool here with the microfiber and also the 2 horizontal spokes. But then again also hashtag capacitive BS at the steering wheel. Interior overview with the Mercedes, most screaming out also here from the design. Vertical layout, big difference to the other ones. And here in the C43 we also have this carbon fiber decor right here. The air vents are also really screaming out nice ambient lighting integration at night. However, the steering wheel, once again, this has a good size and also nice shifting pedals. Well, there's such a huge difference between the Audi, which is most subtle, most conservative, and the Mercedes, which has like elements here, everywhere. What I found very cool is that with the Mercedes you can drive and also select then the driving modes at the steering wheel directly. That's the easiest here in the test. And the rest of the infotainment system, it's actually pretty quick. And also here the car internal GPS, for example. The Apple CarPlay integration looks like this, also really large indeed. You can very well work with that. And also, like in the BMW, temperature unit in the screen, it always stays at this point. But still, that is best in the Audi, where you still have the physical input. Digital instruments, very versatile. You can pick completely different stylings. For example, here understated look, also map look, or assistance systems, and so on, how you want to drive. And for the AMG, you also have special sport gauges like Sport or Super Sport. No, Super Sport, yeah, that's about controlling it. Front seating here with the Audi, comfortable and balanced, and also the steering wheel position here, manual style up and down and out, but really smooth indeed. So this is here already seating wise a good balance between sportiness and comfort. And headroom is plenty left, even with 189 or 6'2". And the Audi seats here with Alcantara on the middle part and integrated head restraint. Looks quite cool, especially this Alcantara pattern, doesn't it? Interior overview in the Audi S4, clean, straightforward, rather conservative, nice brushed aluminum, and here this tablet or the screen is basically attached. This is the facelift model. Digital instruments, clear to read. I think the best digital instruments here in this test. You can also change the view. And of course this lovely climate unit right here. It's so great, has this really beautiful clicking sound. This is the best straightforward user interface, also here with the toggle wheels on the steering wheel. So yes, it looks most old school, but it's also easiest to control. Seating here in the BMW, already closed when I'm driving here in the front. This recess here at the back part of the seat, that would work better when I put the seat a little bit higher, then it would actually work. Headroom, yeah, gets close, but it's also fine for my size, 1.89 or 6'2". A little bit narrow here for the shoulder area. That's quite typical for BMW sedans. There is one advantage to the performance seat. It gives you a little bit more legroom, but also in all three vehicles you hardly have any knee room when a tall driver is driving. And headroom is also comparable. You can always basically put a hand over your head. So there, not much difference. It's very comparable with the BMW. I think just from the basic architecture, the Audi offers a little bit more space here to the side. Seating in the rear with the Audi, headroom is fine, but these sport seats with the integrated head restraint, they really restrict the legroom. It's better with the normal A4 with a separated head restraint, but here it's really close. Just cool. Inside of the door, the Alcantara, and also here on the seats again. The BMW trunk is with 500 liters on paper, the largest, but here we have a lot of liters here and on the other side, but then again it's a little bit narrow here between the wheel arches, but it's actually quite high. 455 liters for the Mercedes trunk, also same length approximately and the same width between the wheel arches. I think here this plastic part here should not be there in this vehicle, but also very well usable like the others. And you can, that's the biggest advantage, fold the seats very easily from here. With another help, and there you can load things through. And the Audi at 460 liters, but I feel this one here has the best square dimensions. So they're all a meter or 40 inches in length or in width approximately, but this one I think among the best usable. The acceleration figure to 1 kilometers or 62 miles now is with all of them around 4.5 seconds, but they reach it with a different way. Here the Mercedes goes 4-cylinder now, really? Here you can see the stability or the strut bar or dome strut. 1, 2, 3, 4. For a C43, I doubt that's the right decision. However, performance-wise, it's all the way there. It even has the biggest horsepower output with this mild hybrid system of over 400 horsepower. The BMW Classic, the 3-liter inline 6-cylinder, probably to me the best engine in the test. I can already tell that so far, and around 370 horsepower, and it is the quickest because there's like a 0.2 second difference than where this one is actually quicker. And we'll also soon go to the German Autobahn, launch it all the way out and see how is the acceleration in the higher speed, like 80 to 180 kilometers an hour or something like that. This will be very, very interesting. The Audi is a little bit special. In Europe, you get the 3-liter 6-cylinder diesel. In the US, you get the 3-liter 6-cylinder petrol engine. We'll also test drive both for you today, that you can actually compare them. Welcome to Thomas's Comparison Driving Lounge, starting with the M340i, putting it in Sport Plus and also in the S shifting mode. And we'll get on to the German Autobahn for the first acceleration. Let's go. Plop, that was like 40 to 180 kilometers an hour. Wow, that was impressive indeed. Whew, this engine is so engaging. And if you compare the 3 Series 2-liter 4-cylinder versus the 3-liter inline 6-cylinder here, it adds so much to this vehicle here indeed. Wow, this is a huge difference. Recently we had our test of the more civilized versions of these 3 vehicles here, and this time, yeah, it is just the most engaging engine. The Audi 3-liter V6 you can get in the North American market for the S4. There's also a great engine, definitely. This one here just, so emotional. At the same time, it can also be very calm when we just go comfort mode and D-driving mode. That's actually really, really, really calm. And you can score great consumption figures even when you're going like cruise control, 100 kilometers an hour, 120 kilometers an hour, like 60, 70 miles an hour. This 3-liter inline 6-cylinder is more fuel saving than the 2-liter 4-cylinder. You can score better consumption figures indeed. It's quite astonishing, because you can always keep it at a lower RPM and so on. It's not, working so much. Of course, when you race it all the way through, use all of that horsepower, then of course the consumption will go up. But actually, it can also be quite economic. Well, not that great, but in comparison to the 2-liter 4-cylinder, it's not worse at all. In most cases, even better. That's really interesting thing. Let's go back into the Sport Plus mode and also in the S shifting mode. Here it's basically split. With the Audi, for example, it is always also connected, and with the Mercedes as well. Here with the BMW, you basically have the sport setting here for suspension and so on, throttle input, and for the steering that you have a little bit more feedback. By the way, really nice with this transition, a lot of fun. And then you have to go for the shifting also in that S mode, so that the RPMs are turned up higher and so on. So this split here, I'm not really sure why they're doing that. I think it's too complicated. If you would go to the sport mode, I think you would also want sporty shifting directly, right? Oh, listen to that. Woo, that's 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. Yeah, this engine is so much fun indeed. And now the Mercedes. Let's go to the Sports Plus mode and accelerate it out. Let's go. That's 190 kilometers an hour. That went also very quick indeed. So pure performance-wise, you are not missing the 6-cylinder. The sound we're hearing is, of course, emulated. It's not that it would not be emulated in the 6-cylinders, but here is just, let's say, more emulation. It is also very engaging to drive. As for how natural the steering feels, well, it's super astonishing that when you compare the previous generation C-Class, that this is here now definitely more direct. This is actually very cool. I like that sporty feature, that the steering is just sportier overall. However, the most natural feeling, in the comfort mode, it's really, really light. When we are in the sports mode, Sport and Sport Plus, I have a little bit more resistance. There's also an individual mode. You can also set up then, for example, that you make the steering itself just, a little bit harder in the reaction. That's also fine. But I think the most natural feeling is still delivered by the Audi, steering feeling wise. So by the steering, you feel most connected to the Audi. That's the thing. Other than that, suspension wise and also how the car behaves, you also feel really connected here with the C43. So let's go to the next Autobahn here. Another acceleration. Just have to see that no one is behind us. Let's see, and we can hit it once again. Let's go. 170. Wow, suspension is really rough in here. Woo! Yeah, that is actually the roughest suspension in the test. Been wondering about that. Interesting. So really less compromise. So whereas the Audi has biggest compromise, sportiness and comfort and balance, BMW then more in the sporty direction, and here, yeah, the Mercedes feels kind of sportiest. Also here lane change at higher speeds. Well done. It's actually also reasonably silent in here as for the wind noise, so good noise insulation in the C-Class, also a lot of fun. So I have to say, fun-wise, you don't miss the 6-cylinder. Oh, here once again now, getting off the motorway. Wow, it's a lot of fun. How quick it can be in the corner. Yeah, that's amazing. Also super engaging. Yeah, sound-wise, it's actually quite cool, and just from, what you hear again. Wow. And I was, at first, very sure that the 3 Series would be like the most sporty, most fun, most engaging. But the C43 is really challenging that, so that is astonishing. I mean, also, of course, the overdrive has a rear-wheel bias. It's so much fun here also to move it around. Wow. What about the Audi? Plop, that's 180 kilometers an hour, really strong. Of course, here in the European version, this is the 3-liter diesel. However, the acceleration figure is kind of the same. There's just a difference that when you have that diesel, the torque is setting in later. And then on the Autobahn, when you're already at speed and using that torque, then it's really strong. Gives you good punch as well. The TSI, which you also get in the US, or then in the S5 convertible, you can still get it, for example, in Europe. That one is actually a little bit more instant torque, instant speed at lower speeds. Oh, directly when you hit the pedal. Here with the diesel, you have to wait like this second, and then it pushes massively. But what they have both in common, and this will also not change anything else about this review, both have the standard Quattro 40-60 distribution, so you always have a rear wheel bias indeed. And of course, also suspension and so on and handling is the same. And here on the German Autobahn, once again, it really feels at home, so settled indeed. Like here now, this is a transition between 2 Autobahns. This is actually most fun to me. So some people say, wow, look at that here. Hardly have to use the steering wheel. I mean, really progressive, very nice. So some people say throttling it out on the Autobahn is most fun. I always say these transitions between 2 Autobahn, this is actually to me the most fun. By the way, 1 Autobahn, 2 Autobahnen, that would be like, like the correct German thing. The plural of Autobahn is then Autobahnen, not Autobahns, like the English plural. So, eine Autobahn, 2 Autobahnen. Listen and repeat. Eine Autobahn, 2 Autobahnen. Like 1 Autobahn, 2 Autobahn. So, and here, the next Autobahn. Wow, really good punch, good control, and you've really maybe seen, I don't have to do much work on the steering wheel, and how precise and calm the car is handling. That's really what I love about this vehicle, and you feel sport and comfort at the same time. I can't stress it enough that this is the special thing about this vehicle, and of course the straight user interface while driving. And now, as comparison, the Audi 6-cylinder petrol. Drop, that's over 180 kilometers an hour. Here, of course, a little bit more wind noise because this is here an S5 convertible. That's the way we can also test in Europe still this 3-liter V6 petrol in the Audi. And yeah, both have good punch, also the 3 to 6-liter diesel, but this, just has this V6 petrol note, and it's just more lively from the low RPM area, and yeah, that would actually be then the cooler choice, definitely, and also then comparable to the M340i from the BMW. Yeah, it's just so much cooler hearing that sound and also knowing that this isn't fake at all. Now let's sum everything up for you. Which one would you take home? Tell me in the comments. And which one would I go for? It's really tough because, well, with the Audi, you have the best balance between sportiness and comfort. And you also have the most direct user interface. Controlling it while driving is easiest. Exterior and interior is on the one hand most conservative, and it's also the oldest model in the test. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. In the EU, of course, with the diesel choice, I think that's not really appropriate. It's still a good and, good performance engine, yes, but I would expect this 6-cylinder petrol feeling then in this case. So in the US, it's definitely a great choice. And it's also a price choice because when you look at the concise prices, 84,000 euros, 92 and 97,000 euros for the Mercedes. So the Audi is, so to speak, the most affordable one. Of course, all are very expensive indeed. The BMW, one step further, more goes into a sporty direction already, but still has a good balance indeed. From the exterior, I like it best actually. Interior, since the facelift is of course a little bit more into the digital world, but still quite good to control, and has of course a little bit more modern touch than the Audi. Then the Mercedes, surprisingly, it is the sportiest in the test from the overall sporty driving feeling because it has the stiffest suspension, especially in a sport setting. The steering is also quite sporty. However, the Audi steering feel is most natural, I have to say. But the Mercedes has this biggest gap between the normal Mercedes and the C43. Here with the normal 3 Series and the M Performance model, it's a little bit slimmer. And with the normal A4 and the S4, the margin is the slimmest actually. But again, that's not a good or bad thing. It's just, a different approach, a different strategy indeed. So I had most driving fun with the Mercedes, most engine fun from like the low frequency vibrations and so on with the BMW and best looks, and most interior fun and most balanced out feeling for an everyday driving perspective with the Audi. So they all have this different focus, and then the question is which one is most important to you. With the 4-cylinder in the Mercedes, the performance is there, no doubt about that. But again, these low frequency vibrations, you somehow feel this gut feeling. I think then here the 6-cylinder in the BMW just delivers you a little bit more. Which one would you take? Tell me in the comments. As for me personally, well, I had the most driving fun with the Mercedes. Indeed, that was super cool. And here in Europe, since I can only get the diesel for the Audi, it would be rather the BMW to get this 6-cylinder feeling indeed. Because yeah, in Europe, this is then the only 6-cylinder you can get as a 6-cylinder petrol. In the US, there's also the 6-cylinder for the Audi available, so probably I would go then for the Audi in the US. And also seating wise, for example in the UK, I can also get the perforated sensor tag in the BMW, whereas in Germany I can also get the microfiber, if you guess here today, the microfiber for the Mercedes, for example. So yeah, it's definitely a very, very tough choice. And the question is if sportiness is the most important to you or more the balance between sportiness and comfort. Also check out the video of the non-performance versions of these vehicles, or maybe also the Mercedes C43.